The Galactic Council had existed for thousands of cycles. It was the highest authority in known space, a massive ring-shaped station floating in the heart of neutral territory. From this place, laws were made, wars were stopped, and entire species were judged. Every word spoken inside the council hall was recorded, stored, and treated as truth across the galaxy. And according to the council's official records, Earth was weak. Earth was listed as a developing world. Humans were labeled slow, divided, emotional, technologically behind. Their history was summarized in one cold sentence: a violent species that never reached maturity. The Council archive showed images of old human rockets, chemical weapons, polluted skies, and wars that destroyed their own cities. To most of the galaxy, Earth looked like a failed experiment of nature. So when the Council speaker finally announced Earth's status to the gathered civilizations, no one was surprised. The speaker stood tall, wrapped in ceremonial light, his voice amplified across the vast chamber. After careful review, he said calmly, the species known as humans pose no threat to galactic stability. A low murmur moved through the chamber. Some species nodded. Others did not even listen. Earth was unimportant. Just another small blue planet on the edge of mapped space. The speaker continued. Human technology remains primitive. Their military capacity is limited. Their planet is internally divided. There is no need for concern. The Council sealed the declaration. Case closed. Across the galaxy, the message spread. Earth was harmless. Earth was irrelevant. Earth did not matter. But not everyone believed the file. In the upper observation levels of the Council station, far from the main chamber, a small group of alien analysts watched silently. They were not politicians. They were observers, data readers, pattern seekers, record keepers. Their job was not to speak, but to notice what others ignored. One of them was a tall, thin being from the Rel species. His eyes could process timelines faster than most computers. As the Council's announcement echoed through the station, he stared at a floating data screen showing Earth's records. Something felt wrong. He scrolled deeper. The history logs were clean. Too clean. Wars ended too neatly. Technological growth stopped suddenly in several places. Certain decades were summarized in a few lines, while others were described in detail. He highlighted a section. There is a gap here, he said quietly. Another observer leaned closer. Which period? Multiple periods, the Rel replied. Human development jumps forward without explanation. Their energy research is incomplete. The second observer frowned. The Council cleared those files. Yes, the Rel said. That is exactly the problem. They continued searching. More gaps appeared. Missing satellite records. Classified projects that ended with no conclusion. Defense simulations marked irrelevant without data. It looked less like weakness and more like removal. Why would the Council remove data from a species that is no threat? The observer asked. No one answered. At the edge of known space, Earth continued its normal rotation. From a distance, it looked peaceful. Blue oceans reflected distant stars. White clouds drifted slowly across continents. Humans lived their lives unaware. Cities slept. Some people worked night shifts. Some watched screens. Some stared at the sky, wondering if they were alone in the universe. They had no idea that the universe had already judged them. In a deep underground facility beneath Earth's surface, a small team of humans monitored long-range signals. Their screens were filled with background noise, cosmic radiation, and faint alien chatter that had been collected for years. One signal suddenly spiked. Is that Council traffic? A technician asked. Another leaned in. It looks like it. The signal was weak, fragmented, and heavily encrypted. But one phrase repeated again and again as it echoed through space. Humans pose no threat. The room went silent. The lead analyst closed his eyes slowly. He had expected this. Deep down, all of them had. So they finally said it, he whispered. Does that mean? Someone began. It means they believe the lie, the analyst replied. Or they want others to believe it. Above Earth, far beyond normal detection range, shadows moved. Massive shapes drifted through dark space without lights, without signals. They did not announce themselves. They did not slow down. These were not explorers. These were not diplomats. They were weapons. Back in the council hall, celebrations had already begun. The decision about Earth was seen as a success. Another possible problem solved before it could become real. The speaker watched the chamber with satisfaction. Another unstable species contained, he said to his advisors. The galaxy will never know the difference. One advisor hesitated. What if the observers are right? What if humans? The speaker raised a hand. We know their kind, he said firmly. They fight among themselves. They destroy their own world. They are loud, emotional, and predictable. He leaned forward. And most importantly, he added, they are alone. The council turned its attention elsewhere. There were trade disputes to settle, border conflicts to manage, real threats to discuss. Earth faded from conversation. Then it happened. A human deep space antenna went dark. At first, no one noticed. Earth had thousands of satellites. One failure meant nothing. But within minutes, another signal disappeared. Then another. Across multiple monitoring stations, alerts began to appear. Signal loss confirmed. No response from orbital array. Deep space relay offline. In the underground facility, alarms sounded. What's happening? Someone shouted. The lead analyst's face went pale as he read the data. They are jamming us, he said. No, they're doing more than that. The screens filled with static. External cameras cut to black one by one. And then, for a single moment, one camera came back online. What it showed froze everyone in place. Above Earth, massive ships unfolded from darkness. Their surfaces were smooth, alien, and covered in glowing symbols that no human database could identify. They had arrived. No warning was sent. No demand was made. No explanation followed. Energy gathered along the ship's hulls, silent and terrible. Evacuation protocol, the analyst shouted. Activate. The transmission cut. Across Earth, the sky changed color. A wave of light moved across the atmosphere, precise and controlled. It did not scorch the planet. It did not crack the surface. It struck targets. Orbital defenses vanished first. Communication hubs followed. Power grids collapsed in perfect sequence. Military installations were disabled before they could react. Cities went dark. Planes lost guidance. Satellites fell silent. The world did not explode, it was switched off. From space, Earth looked unchanged. Still blue. Still beautiful. But it was quiet. Too quiet. Far away, deep in council space, a faint alert appeared on a secondary monitoring system. Unusual activity detected near Sol system. An assistant glanced at it, then dismissed it. Probably solar interference, he said. Earth systems are unstable anyway. The alert was archived. No one followed up. Back in the observation levels, the REL analyst stared at his screen in horror. Earth signal, humanity's endless noise of broadcasts, chatter, data, had vanished. All transmissions stopped, he said. Instantly. Another observer whispered, that's not extinction, that's control. The REL turned away from the screen. The council lied, he said. Inside the council chamber, the speaker smiled as reports of a successful operation reached his private channel. No public announcement was made. No record was added. Earth was simply removed. The problem is solved, the speaker said softly. The galaxy is safer now. He looked around the chamber, pleased with himself. The humans will not trouble us again. Outside the station's massive windows, the stars continued to shine. The galaxy moved on. The council smiled, because they believed Earth was finished. There were no massive explosions visible from deep space, no bright firestorms tearing the planet apart. What happened was far more terrifying. Earth was silenced. When the first wave hit, most humans did not even understand what was happening. Screens went black. Lights shut off. Machines stopped mid-action. Hospitals switched to emergency power, then lost that too. In control rooms, Red warning lights flashed for only a few seconds before they died as well. Across the planet, confusion spread faster than fear. In cities, people stepped into the streets, looking up at a sky that felt wrong. Satellites had vanished. Navigation systems failed. Aircraft pilots struggled as their instruments froze. Some planes managed emergency landings. Others simply disappeared from radar. There was no message from the attackers. No demand. No explanation. Just precision. Deep beneath mountains, inside reinforced bunkers built for disasters no one wanted to name, human emergency councils tried to respond. Old systems powered on. Analog switches were flipped. Paper maps were pulled from dusty drawers. "This is not a natural event," one commander said, his voice shaking but controlled. "This is an attack." "By who?" another asked. No one answered. Above Earth, the alien fleet moved with perfect discipline. Ships shifted positions like pieces on a board. Energy pulses flowed silently between them, invisible to human eyes. They did not waste power. They did not repeat strikes. Every hit had a purpose. Human defenses tried to wake up. Missile silos attempted to open, but their doors remained sealed. Automated cannons tried to rotate, but their targeting systems were blind. Even systems designed to work without networks failed, as if the attackers understood human redundancy better than humans themselves. In orbit, the last surviving satellite recorded a final image before it shut down. It showed a massive alien vessel hovering between Earth and the Sun, blocking light like an eclipse. The image never reached the ground. Inside the underground facility, the human analysts fought against time. Backup generators rumbled weakly. Old monitors flickered to life, showing fragments of data. "They're not destroying us," a young technician said, panic rising in her voice. "They're disabling us." The lead analyst nodded slowly. His face was calm, but his eyes carried the weight of years. "That's worse," he said. "That means they plan to decide what happens next." A new alert appeared. Planetary isolation, complete. The room fell silent. One by one, communication lines went dead. No contact between continents. No signals to space. Earth was cut off, not just from the galaxy, but from itself. For the first time in human history, the entire planet was truly alone. On the Galactic Council Station, the mood was very different. A private chamber lit with soft energy waves held the highest-ranking council members. Holographic displays showed clean reports and simple symbols. Operation status, successful target response, neutralized collateral damage, minimal. The council speaker studied the data with satisfaction. "Efficiency," he said. "As expected." One member shifted uneasily. "No retaliation signals detected." "Of course not," the speaker replied. "They cannot respond. Their systems were never designed to face us." Another asked, "Should we announce the outcome?" The speaker considered this for a moment, then shook his head. "No," he said. "Let Earth fade quietly. Public discussion only creates sympathy." The decision was logged. Earth would not be mentioned again. Across the galaxy, life continued as normal. Trade ships passed through star lanes. News networks discussed border disputes and economic shifts. Earth's name disappeared from casual conversation. To most species, Earth had never mattered anyway. But in remote observation sectors, concern grew. The REL analyst watched the Sol system feeds collapse one by one. His kind valued patterns, and this pattern was clear. "This was planned," he said quietly to his colleagues. "For a long time." "They erased Earth in minutes," another observer whispered. "No council vote. No open declaration." The REL's fingers trembled slightly as he accessed deeper layers of archived data, restricted layers that should not have been altered. "They changed the past," he said. "Human threat assessments, rewritten. Defense capability projections, deleted." "Why?" someone asked. The REL did not answer immediately. "Because the Council does not destroy what is weak," he finally said. "They destroy what could become strong." Back on Earth, the human population struggled to understand the darkness. Families gathered in candlelight. Emergency radios crackled with broken messages. Governments tried to reassure people without knowing the truth themselves. Some prayed. Some panicked. Some simply waited. And in the deepest levels of Earth's hidden infrastructure, systems far older and far more secret than any public network began to wake up. They were not connected to satellites. They were not linked to global grids. They did not rely on modern signals. They relied on people. Manual switches were turned. Heavy doors sealed. Ancient-looking consoles lit up with soft blue light. A single phrase appeared on a screen, written in simple text. Defense Phase 1, active. A woman in a military uniform stared at the message. Her hands shook, not from fear, but from something closer to grief. So it finally happened, she whispered. Around her, others stood in silence. They had trained for this moment without ever believing it would come. One officer asked the question no one wanted to say aloud. Is the council involved? The woman nodded. Indirectly, she said. Which means they believe this ends here. Above them, Earth remained quiet. From space, it looked like a dead world. No signals. No lights. No movement. The alien fleet began to withdraw. Their mission, as far as they were concerned, was complete. Earth could no longer interfere with galactic affairs. Humanity had been reduced to silence. As the last ship turned away, a final scan swept the planet. No resistance detected. No active weapons. No communication attempts. The fleet commander sent a short report. Target neutralized. Species contained. The message reached the council speaker moments later. He allowed himself a small smile. So ends the human question, he said. But far below Earth's surface, in places the scanners did not reach, human eyes were open. Human hands were moving. Human minds were adapting. Earth had not screamed. Earth had not begged. Earth had endured. And somewhere in the dark, beyond alien sensors and council lies, humanity took its first silent breath after the strike, not as victims, but as survivors. The galaxy had seen extinction before. Whole species had vanished in fire, in war, in slow collapse. There were always signs. Distress calls. Refugee ships. Broken fleets running from lost battles. Even in death, civilizations made noise. But Earth made none. Days passed. Then weeks. The Sol system remained completely silent. No signals escaped its gravity well. No random radio noise. No accidental broadcasts. Even natural emissions were strangely controlled. To most galactic sensors, Earth looked calm, empty, finished. And that was what frightened those who truly understood space. In the outer monitoring stations, automated systems flagged Earth again and again. Not because something was happening, but because nothing was happening. A junior analyst stared at the readings in confusion. This doesn't make sense, she said. A planet with 8 billion beings doesn't go quiet overnight. Her supervisor did not answer immediately. He had seen this once before, long ago, on the edge of forgotten space. Silence, he finally said, can mean many things. On the Galactic Council station, the silence was welcomed. The council speaker reviewed reports with calm confidence. Trade routes were stable. Border conflicts were contained. There was no sign of unrest related to Earth. Exactly as planned. Remove Sol from priority monitoring, he ordered. We have wasted enough attention on a minor world. The command was executed. Earth's status was downgraded. Inactive. In the great archives of the galaxy, Earth slipped into obscurity. But not everyone agreed with that decision. In the observation wing, far from the council's polished halls, the REL analyst stood before a massive curved display. Where once Earth's data streams had flowed endlessly, there was now a single flat line. No noise. No error. Just absence. This is wrong, he said quietly. His colleague glanced at him. The council declared the operation complete. The council declared humans weak, the REL replied. They were wrong then too. He pulled up comparative models. Destroyed worlds. Quarantined systems. Silent ruins. Earth matched none of them. Destroyed planets showed chaos before death. Quarantined worlds leaked signals. Dead civilizations left echoes. Earth left nothing. They didn't collapse, the Rel whispered. They closed. In distant neutral space, rumors began to spread. Merchants whispered of missing navigation markers near Sol. Explorers reported instruments behaving strangely when pointed toward Earth's region. Long-range sensors returned inconsistent readings, as if something was interfering, carefully. Not violently. Carefully. One old spacer said it best in a quiet station bar. "Dead worlds don't hide," he muttered. "Only living ones do." Back on Earth, the silence was heavy. Cities lay dark under the night sky. No streetlights. No glowing towers. Only stars, brighter now without pollution, without power. People moved carefully, quietly. Emergency shelters became communities. Families shared food by candlelight. Strangers became neighbors because they had no choice. Fear was everywhere, but so was something else. Focus. In underground command centers, human leaders spoke in low voices. Not because they were afraid to be heard, but because shouting no longer mattered. A young officer looked at a dark screen. "No outside contact for 17 days, she said. "No satellites. No confirmation of enemy movement." An older commander nodded. "That's expected." "Expected?" she asked. "We were attacked." "Yes," he said. And then ignored. She frowned. "That's worse." "No," he replied softly. "That's better." She looked at him, confused. "If they believed we were a threat," he explained, "they would still be watching." Deep beneath the surface, humanity adapted. Messages were carried by hand. Old vehicles were repaired. Maps were redrawn. Children were taught by firelight. Scientists worked with tools thought obsolete. And hidden deeper still, systems the world never knew existed waited patiently. These systems did not connect to the internet. They did not use satellites. They were built for one purpose only: survival after silence. In one such facility, a woman stood before a wall etched with human history. Not victories. Not empires. Failures. Wars. Extinctions avoided by chance. Near collapses. She traced a finger over a carved sentence. "We survived because we learned." "They think silence means death," she said quietly. A man beside her nodded. "That's what everyone thinks." She turned toward a sealed door marked with ancient warning symbols. "Then let them keep thinking that." Far above Earth, beyond the orbit of Pluto, a council listening post drifted in empty space. It was old, rarely checked, and mostly forgotten. Its sensors picked up something strange. Not a signal. A pattern. The data did not trigger alarms. It was subtle, slow, almost natural. But it repeated with perfect timing. The station's AI flagged it as anomaly. The report was sent. It took 3 weeks for someone to read it. In the observation wing, the REL analyst finally received the file. His eyes widened as he studied the data. "They're mapping us," he whispered. Another observer leaned closer. "From silence." "Yes," the REL said. "From what we ignore." He looked toward the council chamber far below. "They believe Earth is gone," he said. "That belief will cost them." In the council hall, laughter echoed softly. A diplomatic conflict had been resolved. A trade agreement signed. The galaxy felt stable. The speaker leaned back in his seat, satisfied. "Peace is maintained," he declared. No one mentioned Earth. No one noticed that the stars near Sol seemed quieter than before. Because silence, when chosen, is not weakness. It is preparation. The truth did not disappear. It was buried. Deep inside the Galactic Council's core archives, behind layers of authority and false security, the original records of Earth still existed. Not complete. Not clean. But enough to tell a very different story. The Council never destroyed information. They rewrote it. Long before the attack on Earth, long before the public declaration that humans were no threat, secret meetings had taken place. No grand hall. No witnesses. Just a small chamber where only the oldest and most powerful members were allowed to speak. In that room, Earth had been discussed very differently. A younger version of the council speaker stood before a floating display showing human history in raw form, unfiltered, unedited, and dangerous. The display did not show weakness. It showed adaptation. It showed a species that survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and near self-destruction. A species that learned faster after every failure. A species that turned pain into progress. One advisor had spoken carefully. They fight each other, he said. They waste resources. They are unstable. Yes, another replied. But every time they should collapse, they rebuild stronger. The speaker had been silent then, watching graphs spike upward after every crisis. Human technology did not grow smoothly. It jumped. Huge leaps after disasters. New systems born from chaos. Weapons turned into tools. Mistakes turned into lessons. That pattern is dangerous, the speaker finally said. Dangerous how? Someone asked. Because they do not need peace to grow, the speaker replied. They grow fastest under pressure. That was the moment the decision was made. Not to observe Earth. Not to guide it. But to limit it. From that day on, human data began to change. Certain achievements were classified. Certain projects vanished from reports. Human military simulations were rewritten to show failure where there had been success. The Council did not fear human power. They feared human potential. Years later, in the observation wing, the REL analyst finally reached those buried files. His hands trembled as fragmented records reassembled on his screen. They knew, he whispered. They always knew. His colleagues gathered behind him as images appeared, human engineers working in underground labs, early prototypes of energy systems far beyond what the Council claimed Earth possessed, emergency plans designed for isolation, invasion, and silence. One file was marked with a red symbol. Species Response Profile, Humanity. The REL opened it. The words were simple. Terrifyingly simple. Humans adapt faster when isolated. Humans unify under existential threat. Humans retaliate asymmetrically. Probability of long-term survival after surprise attack, high. They didn't attack Earth because it was weak, an observer said softly. They attacked, the REL replied, because it might one day say no. On Earth, fragments of this truth were felt, even if they were not yet known. In shelters and hidden facilities, older leaders remembered things they were once told to forget. Projects that vanished from public records. Budgets that were quietly redirected. Facilities that officially never existed. A retired general spoke quietly to a group of young officers. When I was young, he said, we were told the universe was probably empty. That aliens, if they existed, were too far away to care. He looked around the dim room. That was the lie we were allowed to believe. The officers listened in silence. There were always signs, he continued. Signals that didn't match known patterns. Objects that moved wrong. Data that disappeared before it could be shared. So why hide it from the world? One officer asked. The general closed his eyes. Because panic destroys faster than enemies, he said. And because if the galaxy was watching, we needed time. Time to prepare. Time to learn. Time to survive alone. Back on the council station, the speaker stood before a private display showing Earth's continued silence. The flat line comforted him. They will fade, he said. All noisy species do. An advisor hesitated. Our observers report unusual gaps in sensor data near Sol, he said carefully. Nothing clear. Just absence. The speaker's expression hardened. Silence is not resistance, he snapped. It is surrender. He turned away. Remove those observers from the project, he added. They are imagining threats. The order was obeyed. The REL analyst felt it immediately. His access began to close. Files locked. Permissions revoked. They're hiding it again, he said urgently. They don't want the truth known. But the truth is still there, another observer said. In fragments. The REL nodded. And fragments are enough, he said. For those who know how to listen. On Earth, humanity listened. Not to the stars, but to itself. Communities reorganized. Leaders emerged naturally, not by title but by action. Scientists shared knowledge freely. Soldiers trained civilians. Engineers rebuilt systems from the ground up, stronger and simpler. The world had been stripped down to its core. And what remained was not chaos. It was clarity. In one deep facility, a council of humans gathered around a simple table. No flags. No speeches. A woman spoke first. "They lied about us," she said. "Yes," another replied. "But they made one mistake." They all looked up. "They believed their lie," the woman finished. Silence followed, not fearful, but focused. Above them, the galaxy slept peacefully, unaware that the species it thought erased was remembering everything that had been hidden, everything that had been taken, and everything that had been learned. The Council had buried the truth to protect itself. But buried truths do not stay quiet forever. The galaxy believed Earth was finished. That belief settled deep into trade routes, council reports, and casual conversation. Earth became a quiet name, mentioned less each cycle, until it was only a footnote, an example of a weak species that failed to survive first contact. And then, something moved. It happened far from Earth. Far from Sol. In a border system no one cared much about anymore. A place used mainly for shortcuts by merchant ships and old navigation beacons left behind by forgotten wars. The sensors there were outdated. Slow. Almost ignored. That was why they noticed it late. An automated station detected a mass appearing where there had been nothing before. No jump signature. No warp ripple. No warning wave. Just presence. At first, the system flagged it as an error. Then the object moved. Slowly. Deliberately. The station sensors tried to identify it. The shape did not match any known design. No sharp edges. No visible engines. No weapon ports. Its surface looked dark, almost matte, as if it absorbed the stars around it instead of reflecting them. A patrol ship from a minor species was nearby. Its captain received the alert and sighed. "Another ghost reading," he muttered. "Scan and clear." The patrol ship turned toward the object. "Unknown vessel," the captain said formally. "Identify yourself." There was no reply. The patrol ship moved closer. Its crew felt uneasy, though they could not explain why. Their instruments showed power levels, but not like anything they had seen. Not high. Not low. Contained. "Captain," an officer whispered, "I don't like this." Before the captain could respond, a signal came through. Clear. Simple. Unencrypted. Just 3 words. "You attacked Earth." The bridge went silent. The captain stared at the display. "That's impossible," he said. "Earth is inactive." The message repeated. "You attacked Earth." No threat followed. No demand. Just the statement. The patrol ship backed away slowly. "This is Patrol 7, the captain transmitted urgently. "We have an unidentified vessel claiming human origin." The response took seconds. Then panic spread. In nearby systems, sensors recalibrated. Old logs were reopened. Emergency channels lit up with confused voices. "Human origin. That species is extinct. No signals have come from Sol for months." The unknown ship did not move closer. It waited. On the Galactic Council station, alarms began to sound, quiet alarms meant only for internal alerts. Advisors rushed into private chambers. Data streams filled the air. The council speaker arrived last, calm but alert. "Explain," he said. An aide swallowed. "A vessel has appeared near the outer border. It claims to be human." The speaker's eyes narrowed. "That is not possible." "We verified the language," the aide continued. "It matches human linguistic patterns." Silence fell over the chamber. "Is it armed?" the speaker asked. "We can't tell," the aide admitted. "Our scans can't read it." The speaker turned toward the display showing the unknown ship. "So," he said slowly, "they survived." Another advisor spoke, voice tight. "Or someone is using their name." The speaker's jaw tightened. No one would dare. As if responding to the thought, The unknown ship transmitted again. This time, the message went wider, picked up by multiple relays, translated automatically across species. We are still here. Across the galaxy, conversations stopped. Merchants froze mid-transaction. Commanders stared at screens. Observers leaned closer. Humanity had spoken. Not loudly. Not angrily. Clearly. Back on Earth, in a deep command center, human leaders watched the transmission reach its targets. Old screens showed alien reactions in delayed feeds. A young officer exhaled slowly. They heard us. Yes, an older commander replied. Now they will feel us. Is this wise? Another asked. We're revealing ourselves. The commander shook his head. No. We're revealing the lie. The ship at the border system was not a warship. It was a message. Built with purpose. Designed to be seen, not to fight. Its systems were quiet, efficient, and patient, just like the people who sent it. Inside the ship, a small human crew sat in silence. They were not heroes. They did not smile. Their faces carried the weight of a planet that had been hurt but not broken. One of them looked at the stars ahead. They think we came for revenge, he said softly. Another shook her head. We came for truth. On the council station, emergency sessions were called. Species demanded answers. Observers spoke up at last, their voices shaking with relief and fear. You lied, the REL analyst said openly now. You said Earth was weak. You said it was finished. The speaker stood tall, but his confidence was cracking. Control yourself, he snapped. One ship proves nothing. As if on cue, new alerts appeared. More anomalies. More presences. Not fleets. Not invasions. Signals. Human signals. From places no one was watching. The galaxy began to understand something terrible. Earth had not gone silent because it was dead. Earth had gone silent because it was moving. The unknown ship sent one final message before cutting its transmission. We did not come to threaten. A pause. We came to remind. Then the ship vanished, not destroyed, not chased away, but gone, slipping out of detection as smoothly as it had arrived. In the council chamber, no one spoke. The speaker stared at the empty space on the screen. For the first time in many cycles, he felt something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. Because the first human move had not been an attack. It had been a question. The galaxy tried to explain the human ship. That was its first mistake. Scientists, engineers, and military experts gathered across dozens of systems, studying the data captured during the brief appearance of the unknown vessel. They replayed scans again and again, slowing them down, enhancing them, arguing over every strange reading. Nothing matched. The ship had mass, but not in the way it should. It produced energy, but not in measurable output. It moved, but without detectable propulsion. It breaks known physics, one scientist said in frustration. No, another replied quietly. It ignores them. The Galactic Council ordered a full technical analysis. Every archive was opened. Every past encounter reviewed. Ancient species, lost empires, forbidden technologies, nothing came close. Human technology was supposed to be simple, crude, inefficient. This was not. In the Council's military command center, fleet commanders watched simulation after simulation fail. Virtual Council ships fired at digital copies of the human vessel. Every result was the same. Shots disappeared. Energy dissolved. Weapons lost coherence. It's not shielding, a commander said. It's not armor. Then what is it? Someone demanded. Silence answered. The truth was uncomfortable, and so no one said it aloud. The human ship was not defending itself. It was deciding what mattered. In a quiet research wing, the REL analyst studied deeper patterns. He ignored weapons and engines. He focused on behavior. The ship never reacted aggressively, he said. It allowed scans. It allowed attention. He paused, eyes narrowing. It wanted to be studied. Why? An observer asked. Because confidence doesn't hide, the REL replied. On Earth, deep beneath the surface, Human scientists watched the same reactions with careful eyes. Old chalkboards were filled with equations written by hand. Data was passed through isolated systems, checked and rechecked. "They are confused," a young engineer said. "They should be," her mentor replied. "They spent centuries believing we were behind." "But we are behind," she said. "At least, we were." The mentor smiled faintly. "We stopped racing," he said. "We started preparing." Human technology had changed during the silence. Not through sudden miracles. Not through alien gifts. Through focus. Without global networks, humans rebuilt systems from the ground up. They removed unnecessary complexity. They designed machines to survive isolation, failure, and loss. And most importantly, they stopped trying to impress. Human engineers no longer asked, "What is the fastest?" They asked, "What still works when everything else is gone?" The answer shaped everything. Back in council space, tension grew. Fleets were repositioned, not toward Earth, but around key systems. Defensive formations tightened. Commanders demanded permission to engage if the human ship returned. The council speaker listened, his expression cold. "No," he said. "We do not provoke." "But we don't understand them," a general argued. "Exactly," the speaker replied. "And fear leads to mistakes." In truth, fear had already arrived. Reports came in of human signals appearing briefly, then vanishing. Not attacks. Not threats. Just presence. Each time, council sensors struggled. Each time, the human technology slipped away untouched. "It's like trying to grab smoke," one officer muttered. In a neutral system, a council cruiser attempted a test. When a faint human signal appeared near a star's gravity well, the cruiser powered its weapons, not firing, just charging. The human signal did not flee. It remained. The cruiser's energy levels spiked, then suddenly collapsed. Systems rebooted automatically, confused and incomplete. No damage. No warning. Just a quiet correction. The message was clear. Do not try. The cruiser's captain sat in silence long after the signal vanished. "They could have destroyed us," he said softly. "Yes," his first officer replied. "But they didn't." On Earth, a human commander watched the incident replay on a low-resolution screen. "They tested us," an aide said. The commander nodded. "And we answered. With mercy. With restraint," he corrected. "There's a difference." The truth was simple. Human technology was not built to dominate the galaxy. It was built to ensure one thing: that no one could ever switch Earth off again. Back on the council station, the speaker stood alone before a wide star map. Human activity markers blinked softly at the edges, never staying long enough to be pinned down. "They learned," he whispered. An advisor approached cautiously. "Learned what?" "How to survive us," the speaker said. The advisor hesitated. "Should we open dialogue?" The speaker did not answer immediately. He remembered the old meetings. The charts. The warnings they had ignored. "We already spoke," he said finally. "With weapons." He turned away from the map. "And now," he added, voice tight, "they are replying in a language we do not understand." In deep space, unseen by council eyes, human vessels moved quietly. They did not rush. They did not spread fear. They observed. They listened. They learned. And for the first time in galactic history, the most powerful alliance in existence faced an enemy, or perhaps something worse. A survivor whose strength could not be measured, whose weapons could not be understood, and whose patience was far more dangerous than anger. The galaxy had always believed that advanced technology meant louder power. Humanity had chosen silence. The galaxy trusted the Galactic Council because it always had. For thousands of cycles, the Council had spoken, and the galaxy had listened. When the Council declared a species dangerous, borders closed. When it declared peace, wars ended. Truth, for most civilizations, was whatever the Council said it was. That trust began to crack the moment the human signals appeared. At first, the Council tried to contain the situation quietly. Statements were released through controlled channels. Human remnants have been detected. No confirmed threat exists. Council actions were justified. But the words felt weak. Too careful. Too defensive. In neutral systems, alien civilians asked questions their leaders could not answer. If humans were no threat, they asked, why attack them first? If Earth was weak, they asked, why erase its records? The Council had no clean reply. Then the broadcast happened. It began without warning. Across the galaxy, screens flickered. Public displays, private terminals, trade hubs, even old personal communicators lit up at the same time. Security systems tried to block the signal. They failed. The transmission did not force its way in. It was already there. A calm human voice filled the air. Not angry. Not loud. Just steady. This message is not a threat, the voice said. It is a correction. The image shifted. What followed was not words. It was evidence. Raw, unedited footage of the attack on Earth. Alien ships appearing without warning. Energy waves cutting through orbital defenses. Cities going dark in perfect sequence. Hospitals losing power. Children crying in candlelit rooms. The galaxy watched in silence. This was not propaganda. It was too precise. Too real. Timestamps matched Council records. Energy signatures matched Council weapons. The lie unraveled in real time. The human voice returned. You were told Earth was weak, it said. You were told humans posed no threat. Another image appeared, Council documents, original and unaltered. Threat assessments marked high. Predictions showing human survival and retaliation potential. Files stamped classified, altered for public release. Gasps spread through the galaxy. The voice continued, quieter now. You were not told the truth, it said. Because the truth was inconvenient. On the Council station, alarms screamed. Advisors rushed through corridors. Security teams tried to isolate systems that no longer obeyed. The speaker stood frozen as the broadcast played on every surface around him. Shut it down, he shouted. They're not hacking, an aide cried. They're using open channels, ones we forgot we left. The broadcast moved on. Images of Earth after the strike. Not destruction, but survival. People sharing food. Engineers rebuilding by hand. Soldiers training civilians. Children studying by dim light. This is what you tried to erase, the human voice said. Not a weapon. A people. Across distant worlds, alien citizens felt something unfamiliar. Shame. They had cheered quietly when Earth went silent. They had accepted the Council's words without question. Now they saw faces. Now they heard fear, resilience, and loss. In the observation wing, the REL analyst closed his eyes as the truth spread. This was what he had waited for. They chose transparency, he whispered. That is their strength. The broadcast reached its final phase. The human voice returned one last time. We are not asking for sympathy, it said. We are asking you to see. A pause. The Council attacked us without warning. Then they lied to you about why. Another pause. Ask yourselves why. The transmission ended. No dramatic farewell. No demand for justice. Just silence. Across the galaxy, that silence exploded into noise. Councils of smaller species called emergency meetings. Trade alliances demanded explanations. Military leaders questioned orders they had followed without knowing the full truth. Protests erupted on core worlds. Citizens gathered beneath floating Council symbols, no longer confident in what they represented. On the Galactic Council station, chaos ruled. The speaker slammed his fist onto a console. They had no right, he shouted. An advisor stared at him, fear and anger mixing in his eyes. No, the advisor said. They showed everyone the right we took. The speaker looked around the chamber. For the first time, he saw doubt instead of loyalty. Far from Council space, in a quiet human command center, leaders watched the aftermath unfold. No one celebrated. A young officer finally spoke. Will this start a war? An older woman shook her head slowly. No, she said. It will start questions. And if the galaxy turns against us, the officer asked. The woman met his eyes. Then at least they will know why, she replied. The truth had been released, and truth, once free, could not be recalled. The Council's greatest weapon had always been control of the story. Humanity had taken that away. And as the galaxy reeled from the revelation, one thing became painfully clear to everyone watching. Earth had not returned to conquer. Earth had returned to be heard. The galaxy waited for violence. After the truth was broadcast, after the Council's lies were exposed, most civilizations expected the next step to be war. That was how history always moved. Lies were followed by anger. Anger was followed by fire. But the fire never came. Instead, something far more unsettling began to spread. Understanding. Across neutral systems, small councils gathered. Species that had never questioned the Galactic Council before now replayed the human broadcast again and again. They studied the footage, the documents, the timelines. And slowly, painfully, they realized the truth. Humans had been attacked first. Humans had been silenced. Humans had survived. And still, humans had not struck back. This confused the galaxy more than any weapon ever could. In a diplomatic station far from Council space, representatives from dozens of species argued late into the cycle. They should be furious, one delegate said. Any other species would be. Yes, another replied. Which means we don't understand them. That misunderstanding was humanity's real advantage. On Earth, human leaders met in a simple underground hall. There were no flags, no uniforms of rank, no grand speeches. Only tired faces and clear eyes. A man spoke quietly. The galaxy expects revenge. A woman across the table nodded. The Council expects fear. So we give them neither, another said. They were not discussing strategy in terms of battles or fleets. They were discussing something older, something learned through centuries of suffering. Survival together. Humanity had been divided once. Nations against nations. Ideologies against ideologies. That division had almost ended them many times. The attack on Earth changed that forever. When the sky went dark, it did not matter where someone was born. When power failed, it did not matter what language someone spoke. When the world was cut off, humanity learned a simple truth. They only had each other. And that unity became something no scanner could measure. Across Earth, people worked without being ordered. Farmers fed cities. Engineers repaired systems for strangers. Doctors treated anyone who arrived. There were no heroes on banners. Everyone mattered. That unity traveled with the human ships. Human crews were not chosen for loyalty to a government, but loyalty to the species. Scientists, soldiers, engineers, and diplomats worked side by side. Decisions were argued openly. Responsibility was shared. When one failed, others adapted. The galaxy had never seen this before. Most advanced civilizations relied on hierarchy. Orders flowed down. Fear kept systems stable. Humanity relied on trust. In Council space, the Speaker watched reports arrive with growing unease. Neutral systems were opening channels to human representatives. Trade groups requested human mediation. Some species openly questioned Council authority for the first time in generations. They're not conquering, an advisor said, voice tight. They're connecting. The Speaker clenched his fists. That is more dangerous, he said. In one neutral system, a human envoy met with representatives of a small species once dismissed as insignificant by the Council. The meeting room was simple. No guards. No threats. The alien representative spoke first. Why don't you attack them? He asked honestly. They tried to erase you. The human envoy looked at him calmly. Because they failed, she said. The alien tilted his head. That is not an answer. It is, she replied. If we become what they fear, then their lies become true. The alien was silent. That conversation echoed across the galaxy in different forms. Humans did not demand loyalty. They did not demand apology. They did not even demand justice. They offered truth. And truth spread faster than fleets. In observation stations, analysts noticed something alarming. Council influence was shrinking. Not through rebellion. Not through war. Through choice. Species began to refuse council directives quietly. Trade routes adjusted. Military support was delayed. Votes were questioned. The council had ruled through authority. Humans were influencing through example. The Rel analyst watched it happen with awe. They weaponized empathy, he said softly. And patience. A younger observer frowned. That doesn't sound like a weapon. That's because you've never faced it, the Rel replied. On Earth, a young girl sat in a rebuilt classroom, studying a hand-drawn map of the galaxy. Her teacher pointed at a cluster of stars. These worlds once believed we were nothing, the teacher said gently. The girl raised her hand. Do they still think that? The teacher smiled sadly. No, she said. Now they're afraid of something else. What? The girl asked. The teacher paused. That we won't become monsters, she answered. Far away, the council speaker stared at the same star map, now filled with shifting alliances and uncertain loyalties. They should hate us, he whispered. They should want revenge. An advisor looked at him carefully. Perhaps, the advisor said, that is why we are losing. Because humanity's real weapon was not ships, or energy, or technology no one could understand. It was the memory of suffering, and the choice to rise above it. The galaxy had prepared to fight a wounded beast. Instead, it faced a united people who had learned that survival was strongest when shared. And for the first time in its long history, the galaxy understood something truly frightening. A species that could endure silence, survive lies, and still choose restraint. The Galactic Council had ruled for so long that most species forgot a simple truth. Power only exists while others believe in it. After the human broadcast, after the truth spread across the galaxy, that belief began to die, not loudly, not suddenly, but quietly and everywhere at once. Council orders were still sent, but fewer were followed. Council warnings were still issued, but fewer were feared. And the council did not understand why. Inside the great council hall, the speaker stood before a gathering that no longer felt united. Delegates avoided eye contact. Whispers moved through the chamber like slow poison. We demand order, the speaker declared. The galaxy cannot function without guidance. A delegate from a neutral species stood up. Guidance, he asked calmly. Or control? The room froze. You attacked a world without warning, the delegate continued. Then you lied to all of us about it. Another delegate rose. How many other truths were changed, she asked. How many species were erased quietly? The speaker raised his voice. Earth was a threat. A human representative appeared on the central display, not imposing, not armored, just present. If we were a threat, the human said calmly, you would still be watching us in fear. Silence followed. The speaker felt it then. He was losing them. Outside the council station, fleets waited. Once, they would have acted without hesitation. Now their commanders questioned every order. In one fleet command ship, an admiral stared at a transmission from the council. Prepare for suppression, the order read. The admiral closed his eyes. Suppression of whom? He asked quietly. Civilians asking questions. His officers said nothing. We will hold position, the admiral decided. No aggressive action. Across the galaxy, similar decisions were made. Not rebellion. Refusal. The council's power systems began to fail, not from attack, but from isolation. Support networks withdrew. Trade access was limited. Even maintenance crews stopped responding. The station dimmed slightly as energy was rerouted away. Inside, panic grew. They're strangling us, an advisor whispered. Without firing a shot. The speaker slammed his fist down. Then we strike, he shouted. We remind them who holds authority. Before the command could be issued, the lights flickered. A calm human voice filled the chamber, not through force, but through open channel. We are not here to destroy you, the voice said. We are here to end what you built. Human vessels appeared around the station. Not surrounding it aggressively. Stabilizing it. Council weapons powered up automatically, then powered down just as quickly. Control panels flashed warnings. Override active non-destructive containment engaged. What have they done? The speaker shouted. An engineer stared at the readings in disbelief. They didn't shut us down, he said. They limited us. Life support continued. Gravity held. No one was harmed. But escape was impossible. The human voice returned. You ruled through fear, it said. We will end this through accountability. Security doors opened across the station. Human envoys walked in, unarmed, calm, accompanied by observers from neutral species. No executions. No violence. No chaos. Council members were escorted out one by one. Some shouted. Some cried. Some said nothing at all. The speaker was the last. As he was led away, he looked at the human envoy with burning eyes. You think this makes you better than us? He demanded. The envoy met his gaze. No, she said softly. It makes us different. Outside the station, news spread faster than light. The Galactic Council has fallen. No war declared. No worlds destroyed. The galaxy struggled to understand. On Earth, people watched the reports in silence. No cheering crowds. No celebrations. A young man finally spoke. So, it's over. An older woman shook her head gently. No, she said. It's finished. There was a difference. The council had fallen not because it was weak, but because it lied too long and forgot that control without truth cannot last. As the station dimmed behind them, the human ships pulled away. No flags were raised. No throne was claimed. Humanity did not replace the council. They removed it. And as the galaxy adjusted to a future without its ancient rulers, one truth echoed everywhere. The most powerful empire in history did not fall to war. It fell because one silenced world chose restraint, truth, and unity. For centuries, civilizations had underestimated humans. They had mocked them as weak, backward, unworthy of attention. The Galactic Council had done the same, rewriting history, altering reports, creating a lie so complete that even the galaxy itself believed it. But lies, no matter how deeply buried, cannot survive forever. Earth emerged from silence like a storm that had been gathering quietly for centuries. The attack that was meant to destroy them had only refined them. Every strike had been studied, every weakness had been recorded, every failure had been transformed into a lesson. Humanity had learned faster than any species had ever imagined, but not to dominate, not to conquer, not to seek vengeance. They had learned to endure. They had learned to survive. And they had learned to teach. The first time the galaxy truly saw humans after the Council's lies was not on a battlefield. It was in the quiet of observation, through signals and broadcasts, through ships appearing and vanishing without warning. Not aggression, but presence. Not chaos, but order. Not destruction, but understanding. Humanity had returned not as conquerors, but as witnesses, as reminders, as a mirror reflecting the truth that the galaxy had refused to see. When the last council members were removed, the galaxy watched in disbelief. No fleets were destroyed. No cities burned. No weapons fired. And yet the power of the species they had dismissed for centuries was undeniable. The humans had shown that the greatest strength does not lie in the ability to destroy, but in the ability to endure, to adapt, and to choose restraint when every instinct called for war. Across systems that once blindly followed council orders, debates erupted. Species questioned everything they had been told. Trade routes shifted. Military alliances weakened. Public assemblies demanded accountability. The galaxy was awake for the first time, and it was terrified, not of human weapons, but of human choices. On Earth, humanity did not celebrate. There were no parades, no speeches, no flags raised in triumph. Leaders stood quietly in command centers, watching as reports of council collapse streamed in from across the galaxy. Children, unaware of the magnitude of what had happened, studied maps, rebuilt machines, and played in streets lit by sunlight rather than neon or lamplight. Engineers, soldiers, and scientists worked side by side in the calm of restored order, knowing that survival had always been the truest measure of power. A young officer in one of the deep command bunkers whispered, almost to herself, "They will never understand us." An older commander, standing nearby, nodded slowly. "They never understood before. They think we fight to win. They don't see that we fight to protect. That is our weapon. The galaxy had believed it controlled humanity through fear, through lies, through silence. The galaxy had been wrong. Humans had endured the impossible and risen without hatred, without revenge, without submission. And in that endurance, they had created a force stronger than fleets, stronger than technology, stronger than any empire, the undeniable truth of who they were. Species who had once dismissed Earth as inconsequential now spoke its name with a mixture of fear and respect. Across distant systems, the words traveled, not as propaganda, but as reality. Humans were alive. Humans were united. Humans had survived the greatest betrayal in galactic history. And humanity's silence, patience, and restraint had made them invincible in a way the galaxy had never expected. The old galactic council stations, once symbols of unquestioned authority, now floated empty in orbit, relics of arrogance and lies. Their fleets had been left intact, but their purpose had vanished. The species they had tried to erase had survived. They had endured. They had reminded the galaxy that truth cannot be silenced, that resilience cannot be broken, and that the species they had lied to should never have been underestimated. And so, as humanity looked toward the stars once more, not for war but for understanding, one simple truth echoed throughout the galaxy. They lied about Earth. They underestimated Earth. They thought they had ended a species. They were wrong. The galaxy had finally learned the hard way that humans are not a threat to be feared, nor a species to be ignored. They are a force of nature, tempered by suffering, sharpened by patience, and guided by a principle older than empires and wars. Humanity fights not for power, but to protect, to endure, and to rise when the universe expects them to fall.